Welcome to the Museum of Polo and Hall of Fame 2026 induction ceremony. And the museum is the only museum for polo in the world. And so you are in a very reverent place for the sport. And we have a mission to foster an appreciation of the sport, its history and traditions, by acquiring, preserving, exhibiting, and interpreting our collections. We're not letting you see our collections tonight because we'd never get you to sit. But we are going to honor those who have made outstanding contributions to the sport. In the Hall of Fame today, there are 101 Hall of Fame members, 46 Iglehart Award members, and 53 horses to remember that have all been honored and acknowledged in the prior years to this year. What I would like to do for the moment, for the members of the Hall of Fame and the Iglehart Award winners who are here in the room tonight, would you please stand up and could we give them a round of applause? My cheat sheet says Mariano Aguirre, Mike Azzaro, Bob Beveridge, Tommy Biddle, Joey Casey, Hector Galindo, Memo Gracita, Ruben Gracita, and Julian Hipwood from the Hall of Fame, and Iglehart Award winners Tony Coppola, Tim Gannon, Jimmy Newman, and Paul Van Gontard are all here. A round of applause for all of those. I also want to make mention, a year ago at this event, we honored Jory Butler Kent. And Jory passed away in early January this year, and she would have been here tonight and would have sent her best, and I want to just make sure everyone knows that we have a lot of respect for her contribution to the sport, and we will truly miss her. We're going to do another interesting thing tonight. The Polo Training Foundation has historically had on this same weekend a moment to honor the students who have received the PTF awards. And tonight, I have the distinct pleasure of having Tony Coppola help me with the Polo Training Foundation Awards. And I think Jen McLeavy is going to bring our 4 candidates up here, and we're going to spend a couple minutes at the beginning of the affair tonight to recognize those kids. And think about it, this is sort of a beginning of your polo career, end of your polo career kind of conversation. And so we're thrilled to have these kids here tonight and to give him a couple minutes in front of all of you and introduce you to them.
Thank you, Marty. You know, this is the biggest weekend, or second biggest weekend. I guess the U.S. Open is our biggest weekend of the winter season. But tonight we have the induction ceremony. Tomorrow, the 40 goal. Normally we would have this presentation of these students on Sunday night. And then Monday, we have the Avendano tournament, which is part of the PTF. I think we've got 96 participants. These are kids from 5 to 16. So it's a really big weekend, and we're happy you're all here. So first, I'd like to introduce the Russell A. Sheldon Interscholastic Male Player of the Year. Okay. All right. My prompter didn't quite push forward. The Polo Training Foundation Award winners are selected through their participation in the intercollegiate and interscholastic programs of the United States Polo Association and based on the following criteria: playing ability, horsemanship, mallet skills, teamwork, comprehension of the game, contributed to the sport, leadership, commitment, and assistance to new players, sportsmanship, conduct in and out of the playing arena, knowledge of the rules and their enforcement, and of course a positive attitude. So this year's winners, Kylie Beard of Marlin Farm will take the Lynn Thompson Female Interscholastic Player of the Year. Also, Joe Bob Lacaria, Russell A. Sheldon Male Interscholastic Player of the Year. Oh yeah, big Texas contingent. Elena Benz from UVA, recipient of the Daniel J. Wallace Jr. Female Intercollegiate Player of the Year. Dan Wallace was the coach at Yale for many, many years. Zach Coleman from Texas A&M, the Stephen A. Orthwine Award for Male Intercollegiate Player of the Year. Okay, so we're going to give each a minute to thank you all.
I would like to first start by thanking the PTF for putting together such a wonderful event and the Polo Museum. I also want to thank my parents for making the trip down here to support me, just like they have throughout my entire polo career. You have followed me everywhere the sport has taken me, from California to Massachusetts, and no matter how far the destination, you always find a way to make it happen. Your constant support is something I will never take for granted. I also wanted to thank my coach, Kelly Wells. She has been a part of my polo journey from as long as I can remember, from brushing my very first horse to finally winning 2 national championships. She has been there through every step. I would not be here without her guidance, belief, and dedication. Lastly, I want to thank someone who I believe deserves this award almost as much as I do, my first horse, Aries. She's been with me since 2020, and she has been the star of my string since then. I would not be the player I am without her.
I'd like to start off saying that I'm truly honored to receive the PTF Interscholastic Player of the Year Award. Thank you to the USPA and the Polo Training Foundation for supporting youth polo and giving players like me the opportunity to grow in this sport. I want to thank my dad, CJ, and my mom, Sheila, for everything they've done to support me. I wouldn't be here without you. Thank you to my coach, Mark Punslow, for pushing me to improve every day since I was just a little kid. And my assistant coach, Shane Rice. It means a lot to receive an award that's connected to your grandfather, Russell Sheldon. Also, I'd like to share how special it was for me to win 2 national championships with my sister, Lily. You're an unbelievable teammate, and it meant so much to me to take home those 2 titles with you. I'm very grateful for everyone who's helped me along the way and will continue to do so. Thank you.
I would like to first thank the PTF for this award. It's an incredible honor to receive it, and also for putting on this amazing event tonight. I would also like to thank my parents for always supporting me, as well as my grandmother, who's always been supportive, even though it's been a lot of long plane flights from Hawaii to Virginia. And lastly, I would like to thank my coach, Lou Lopez, who's retiring after 26 years of coaching intercollegiate polo. I was very fortunate to get to play under him for my 4 years at UVA, and I'm incredibly grateful for the whole Virginia Polo program for their support, the cultivation, and obviously the incredible program that they have built. I would also like to thank him for not only helping me grow as a player, but also as a person. I learned many life lessons there in my 4 years, and I am super grateful for all those memories.
Howdy, everyone. What a beautiful night the museum and PTF have put together to honor everyone here. I'm especially grateful to George and Brenda DuPont with the museum for recognizing us alongside the Hall of Fame dinner, and to Jennifer McLevy and the PTF for honoring our achievements, flying us out, and taking such great care of us. The Stephen Orthwine Intercollegiate Player of the Year is the highlight of my career and my proudest achievement in polo. Several people who helped make it possible are here tonight. My parents, Dan and Sarah Coleman, Caroline Martin, our equine operations manager and my riding instructor, and my beautiful girlfriend, Maddie Home, who supports me every day. I also want to thank Coach Mike McCleary. He couldn't make it tonight, but he's one of the greatest collegiate coaches of all time and proves it year after year, as well as my teammates, Aiden Meeker, Will Mudra, Andres, and Tomas. They were part of our national championship squad. Long-term teams are rare in polo, and the collegiate experience we shared was special. I'd do anything for those guys. Lastly, I want to speak briefly about something important to me. Arena polo is the future. It's faster, more engaging for spectators, and more accessible. What it needs most is exposure. There should be more arena opportunities at every level, especially here in Wellington, essentially the polo capital in America. I didn't reach 5 goals in the arena and only 1 goal on the grass by accident. I played in every arena tournament I could. A large majority of American youth is developed only in the arena, yet their options are very narrow afterwards. If polo were ever to reach the Olympic stage again, I believe arena polo has all the tools to make it happen. My personal goal moving forward is to become the 5th American arena 10-goal player and hopefully one day be honored like those that will be honored later tonight. Maybe they will move me to 2 on the grass once I hit it. Congratulations to the Hall of Fame inductees later tonight, and thanks and gig 'em.
Thank you. As I look around the room, I see a lot of alumni from the interscholastic and intercollegiate programs and some past winners. So this is the future of polo. They've made great friendships that they'll carry through this sport for life. So let's give them a big, big round of applause. And we're going to let you get back to your dinner for now. Okay. All right, Melissa Ganzi, our chairman, Jillian Johnston. We're all part of the executive board. And yeah. Well done, everybody. Congratulations. I'm done, right?
Yeah, a little different than I thought it was going to be, but we're good. All right, I'll take over now and close up this part. You can go to the table.
Great.
How about a round of applause for the PTF award winners? While they're taking some photos, I want to update everybody on some museum news, because I don't get a chance to talk to this large a group in all of Polo. I mentioned to you, you're sitting in the only museum for polo in the world. And tonight's a really historic gala because it's the largest group we've ever had. We're at 500 plus attendees tonight. And that's a remarkable thing for everyone. It's also going to be the largest fundraising success we've ever had, given all the contributions that have come from people already to the museum. And so thank you to everyone who's been contributing. And then I have one more really good piece of news. Hopefully this is the last year we're going to be in a tent, because we are looking at an 8,500 square foot addition to the museum, which will be roughly right on top of this concrete area where we've got the tent. And it will allow us the flexibility to have this event indoors as well as to be more gallery space for the museum. And we're already in the application process with the County of Palm Beach, and we have funding right now that covers the cost of building the building. We are seeking an additional $900,000 of funds in order to build the proper exhibitry and things that are going to go in the museum. And so, as you sit at your table, there's a program on your table, and I'm going to be unabashed and ask you to look at the back page, because there's a spot where you can contact us to donate to help finish this project for us. So thank you all for being willing to listen to me pitch you. And then I want to extend our thanks to everyone here, because you make the museum work. We exist entirely off of donations. There's no magic formula to this. We have to go out and solicit help, and so that's part of the reason we're asking for a little bit of help on the building. Lastly, this is my last piece of acknowledgement here, and I'll let you to dinner. The staff of this museum works harder than any staff I've ever been in contact with, and I can tell you, to pull off a 500-person event is like 2.5 times what it takes to pull off a 200-person event. And so I want to recognize George DuPont, Brenda Lynn, Jordan Schwetz and Michelle Schwetz. Without their work, this doesn't happen, not at all. And we have an extended staff of Alex Pacheco, Y.A. Teitelbaum, and Krystalzaskey, who helps us immensely to get all of this done in public relations and all of that. And lastly, we have a huge series of sponsors and donors. And I'll give you a little bit of visibility to everybody that's on this list during dinner, because it's kind of an eye chart. But trust me, it's an army of people in this room and some people outside the room that are making the museum and this gala and all of the recognition we do for the sport. So thanks to everybody who does all that contribution. And now please enjoy your dinner, and we'll get back to the program in a little while. Oh, I forgot. There's a board for the museum who are the people that direct it to get it done. There's the Polo community, our partnership with the USPA, and the founders who made the museum happen. So they sit in the background and make the whole thing govern, but the contributions and everything I've already mentioned are the key. Thank you all. I want to start the program this evening. For those of you that have been here before, we begin the program by talking about our favorite equine athletes, the horses to remember. This award acknowledges exceptional performances by horses whose accomplishments on the field are deserving of recognition in the Hall of Fame. And this year, the first honoree is Citroen from the early era. Citroen was an outstanding athlete, winning the top honors in Argentina where he was bred before coming to the United States. The stunning chestnut gelding was then purchased by Robert Lehman, who paid top price at auction. Citroen continued his outstanding play in winning major awards, including being judged best polo pony, you think I get that, in the 1930 and 1931 National Polo Pony Society show, a rare feat for a gelding in a very competitive field of remarkable ponies. Citroen was played by Hall of Famer Eric Pedley en route to victory in the 1930 Westchester Cup. Here to accept the award for Citroen tonight on behalf of his father is Robin Lehman and his daughter, champion equestrian Morgan Lehman. And where are you? Here we go.
Well, I stand before you, the least distinguished and the least deserving person to be able to talk about horses. When I grew up in Arizona, my horse experience was putting me on a Western saddle and slapping the rear end of the horse, and I ended up dangling by one saddle, and that was a bit of a problem. And over the years, I tried horses many, many times without very much success. Now, you all ride for the most part, and your best friend there looks at you, and he or she knows what you're thinking. Well, that's true, because the horses that I met looked at me, and they knew what I was thinking, and they went, and they found the nearest limb and peeled me off every single time. That was my sum total experience with horses. But I know that my dad was very involved, and I know an exceptional horse is truly an exceptional being, physical and mental. And so, on behalf of Citroen, I give him love for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next horse to receive the Horses to Remember Award is Long Pocket. Billy Mulcahy's raw-boned and wiry Australian thoroughbred carried numerous high goalers throughout his career, including Memo Gracita, Esteban Pinello, Tiki Alberti, Junie Crotto, and Mike Azzaro. Sturdy and rock-steady with a big chest carrying a huge heart, Long Pocket will long be remembered for his always dependable play, highlighted by performing for 3 out of 7 hard-fought chukkers in the epic 80-goal match in California in 1990. Here to accept the award for Long Pocket is the late Billy Mulcahy's wife and Long Pocket's devoted groom, Wendy, and their son, George Mulcahy.
Good evening, friends, and good evening to the community that long ago I considered family. I'm Wendy Hollander, formerly known as Wendy Mulcahy, and I was Long Pocket's groom. I'm here with George, one of the 2 sons Billy Mulcahy and I had together to speak about our wonderful horse as he is inducted into the Polo Hall of Fame and shares the recognition of Horses to Remember with the elite ponies of the sport. Lucky for us that the late Pat McGinley of Victoria, Australia, who trained and named Long Pocket, saw past his bad reputation with the grooms and blacksmiths and sensed a certain degree of presence or pride that he couldn't ignore when he found him turned out alone in a back paddock. Thus began the journey of Long Pocket, the little chestnut from the bush. For many years, I was the first person Long Pocket saw in the morning and the last person he saw at night when I turned him out and shut the paddock gate after a long day. Grooms share a special bond with the ponies in their care. Grooms experience the worry and treatment of injuries, the grief of the loss or sale of a favorite pony. Grooms take on the enormous responsibility of ensuring the safety of the gear they send their players and ponies out into battle with. It's important to include the grooms in the equation of a successful tournament, season, and champion pony. Thank you. Thank you. Long Pocket knew the game. He knew to throw his shoulder with perfect timing into a player's swing, providing the extra power on a foul shot or knock-in. He gently guided his young and inexperienced groom away from committing a foul and showing her a better play in the Alligator Open at the Gulfstream Polo Club. I scored a goal that day. Long Pocket loved the game. Those 3 o'clock games at Myopia when I would give him an Orvis bath, show sheen his coat, and put on the white bandages reserved for Sunday games. He would leave the barn looking like a supermodel and then play like the great Wayne Gretzky. Billy would have appreciated that hockey reference. Those of you who knew Billy will remember the hockey helmet he wore when he played. Kind of hard to forget. Billy's birthday was 11 days ago on February 2nd. He would be 77, and this would have meant the world to him. Folks who remember Billy will also recall his strong connection to Australia, their fine horses, their unique and effective training methods, and of course, their beer. I was fortunate to travel twice with Billy to Australia and see firsthand the magic of Australian polo and understand how Long Pocket became the amazing animal that he was. There was a beloved Australian poet named Banjo Patterson who wrote about the outback, the cattle droves, and polo. Probably his most well-known poem was put to music by Slim Dusty and made into a movie, The Man from Snowy River. Here's a few lines from that poem which describe Long Pocket as true as anyone could put to words. He was hard and tough and wiry, just the sort that won't say die. There was courage in his quick, impatient tread, and he bore the badge of gameness in his bright and fiery eye and the proud and lofty carriage of his head. George, Wild Bill, who I know is up here with us, and I are so grateful for the acknowledgement of Long Pocket as a horse to remember. Thank you. Thank you.
Next are the Philip Iglehart Awards. And the Iglehart Award is given to recognize exceptional lifetime contributions to the sport of polo, either on a regional or a national level. This award was created by the board because they saw the Hall of Fame in Horses to Remember was leaving a huge gap because our sport is heavily contributed to by people who advance the sport in many, many ways. And so the Iglehart Award is here to do that. Our first recipient tonight is Joe Casey Sr. And Joe Casey Sr. was actually named to this award last year. And because of his health, he couldn't be here to receive it. So we decided to postpone awarding it until he was in better health. And I'm looking because I don't think I have narrative on that. Yes, I do. Joe Casey Sr. helped set the standard for large-scale professional polo management. In the 1960s, while working in Tulsa for John T. Oxley, he oversaw the horses for a high goal team, managed the breeding operation, and played on Oxley's teams, demonstrating both exceptional skill and keen horsemanship. Casey was also among the first Americans to travel to Argentina in search of top-quality horses, a practice that soon became essential to high goal polo in the United States. Known for generously sharing his knowledge, he guided numerous young players. On the field, Casey's achievements included winning the 1970 British Gold Cup with Boca Raton, the 1966 12 goal with Tulsa, and the 1981 Bronze Trophy and Inner Circuit titles, also with Tulsa. This is Mike Carney.
Good evening, everyone. For the 425 people in here that do not know me, my name is Mike Carney, and I have been honored tonight to speak about Joe Casey. So I have something prepared I want to read, if I can get some lights on this. So, before Joey, there was Joe. It's an honor to be able to say a few words about Joe Casey and how he helped me and so many other young Americans, North and South, and changed the way teams were managed and put together. This is Joe Casey. I first met Joe in the early 70s, about 2 years into polo with my dad in Wichita. I knew him from the Boca Raton Polo magazine and the fact that he had won the Gold Cup in England with Jack Oxley, John Oxley, and Roy Berry. I was about 12 years old back there in the early 70s. I had never been to Florida, but Joe drove up from Tulsa with Joey one day, and Joey was about 5 or 6 years old, to see Billy Wayman. I looked after Joey while Joe and Billy visited about horses and polo. So Tommy Wayman and Joe Casey were the first really two high gold players that I ever actually got to see in person. So in my opinion, Joe managed the whole package. He took care of John Oxley, he picked the players, he made and bought horses for the Tulsa and Boca teams. He may not have been the first, but he was close. Players, positions, horses, logistics, and management. And wait, he also has 3 horses in the Hall of Fame: Ragamuffin, Burrito, and Cat of Joy. an example, I have an example here. I told Hector Galindo I was going to throw him under the bus this evening, so I hope he's not here. But I said, where would Hector Galindo be before Joe brought him to Midland after he won the National 8 goal in 1981 and provided him with the opportunity to play at a higher level and blossomed into the 8-goal player that he turned out to be. Also this morning when I was visiting with Joe and Joey, I found out that Joey was in that final against Hector back in San Antonio back in the day. And Joe's the one that brought him, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities for high-goal polo back in that day. Another example would be, where would Joel Baker's journey have ended up coming from California, winning the Sunshine League, the Gold Cup, and then picked up by A&K to win the 1981 Open. I'm going to give you a few of the players that Joe hired and gave opportunities to. Jake Sieber, Corky Linfoot, Rob Walton, Mike Conant, Owen Reinhardt, Jeff Atkinson, Paul Rizzo, Red Armour, David Wigdahl, Gonzalo Tenora, Tom Harris, Fortunato Gomez, Ernesto Trotz, Juan Badiola, Jeff Blake, Memo, and of course we can't forget Juan Bellini. I don't even know if he's in here tonight, but Juan Bellini was another very famous polo player that So think about that group for a moment. Look at the players he put on the field. And another one I remember the most, back in my first year with Joe and John, is we started that year with a win against Retama in 1979. But after that, I don't think we won another game for all of January and February. So, hold on, let me get back where I am. So, in January and February. So at the end of the season, our team was in an exhibition game on number 2, and from Palm Beach comes down Usman Duntada, Eddie Moore, Gonzalo Perez, and Michael Amore to play an exhibition game. Not the main game, an exhibition game. Now, I had never heard of Gonzalo before. I'd heard of Eddie Moore before, and so they came down and we won that game. And you have to remember that we hadn't beat anybody. We couldn't beat the Little Sisters of the Poor. So anyway, I was invited to come back to Boca by Joe. A few months later, he gives me this call, and he says, I'm headed to Argentina to look at horses. And he said he had asked around, and he said, this Gonzalo Perez guy seems to be the up-and-coming player down there, and we're going to get him. And so I'm on the phone, and I say, well, for one thing, I say it to myself, I'm not going to disagree with Joe Casey. You know, we're getting Gonzalo Perez. But I said to myself, how good can this guy be? You know, I said, we couldn't beat anybody in 1979, and we beat him. So anyway, the rest is history, and I think even Peter Brant should be thanking Joe Casey a little bit for that when he gets his chance to come up here and say something. So anyway, of course, all the players that I named were good in their own right. Some already there, some on the way up. But when you stepped into the organization that Joe formed, the support and the structure, you were bound to have success. The unique quality about Joe was Joe put so many successful combinations together on the field, as the names I mentioned above. And when he is doing all that, when he wasn't in Boca managing these teams, he was in the racehorse business, and he was in the show horse business. So he was all over the map, Joe. And so he was tough, he was fair, you did not want to disappoint him. And so that's why I will ever be grateful to you, Joe. This is a well-deserved award. I thank the nominating committee for making this happen. Joe raised a very good son in Joey, who's got a club here and has a beautiful granddaughter who is, I'm not sure he is as good a horseman as you, Joe, but damn close. So congratulations. Mike, if we can move back to the other screen and I'll touch the photo. Do you want me in the photo with you?
Joe, congratulations. That was a year in the waiting, and we're really glad you could be here to receive it. Our next inductee is Clint Nangle. Clint will always be remembered as a caring, dignified, and deeply respected champion of the sport. A natural-born left-hander, he began playing polo at Myopia in 1962 and became known for his positivity, integrity, and unwavering commitment to improving the game. He served more than 20 years as a USPA governor, including a decade as the first elected governor of the Florida Caribbean Circuit, guiding the region through strong and sustained growth. He also contributed significantly to improving administration and competitive structure, and he founded and chaired the USPA Equine Welfare Committee, advancing essential standards for horse care, safety, and responsible stewardship across the sport. Accepting the award is, for her father is Dana Nangle Scott and her son Sam.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, Marty, and thank you to the staff and board of the Polo Museum and to the nominating committee and to all the sponsors of tonight's dinner. It's a distinct pleasure to be here after 40 years away. The 2 years I spent here in the early 1980s between college and law school were some of the most enjoyable of my life, when all I did was do all things polo 24/7. But I thought that a female didn't have a future playing polo or working in polo, so I went into law. But women like Vicky Armour proved me wrong and paved the way. I wish my father were here to receive this award himself, but hopefully he's looking down from heaven at all of us gathered here this evening. I'll not summarize my father's accomplishments as they've been, Marty summarized some of those, and many of you are aware of them as well. But instead, I want to tell you something that not many people know. So my father's grandfather was a prominent equestrian in the Boston area in the late 1800s and early 1900s, both jumping and racing horses. But one unfortunate day, as he was jumping, he passed away. The family blamed jumping for his death, and from that day forward, horses were verboten in our family, very frowned upon. Despite that, horses held a special place in my father's heart. I'd like to think that he was infected with the horse bug when he first sat on that cute little pony as a toddler. But he didn't own a horse until we moved to Hamilton, Massachusetts in the early 60s, and he started playing polo at Myopia Hunt Club. From that point forward, horses and polo became the greatest loves of his life. The old adage that there's nothing like the inside of a man like the outside of a horse definitely held true for my father. Riding benefited him in every way possible, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. During a visit to his farm in South Carolina with my son during the last few years of his life, he wanted to get one final ride on his favorite horse and asked my son, who's 6'5" and strong as an ox, to help get him up into the saddle. And he was able to do that and enjoyed that last ride that was pictured in the photo. His love for horses led him to found, as Marty mentioned, the USPA Equine Welfare Committee, which sets standards for the treatment of horses and hopefully has done a lot of good for them. For without those beautiful and majestic animals, we could not play this noble game. And as important as the horses were to my father, so all of you here were too. If you did not know that, you and the polo community meant the world to him. My father often updated me through the years over the phone about all of you. And all of you seated here tonight, including those who could not attend and those who have gone before us, were some of the most important people in his life. Lastly, I want to thank some individuals for their long friendships with my father, Jack Oxley, Brenda and George DuPont, and Billy Robb, amongst others too numerous to name. Your friendships meant everything to him, and I believe that such friendships are the stuff that eternity is made of. So thank you for this great honor from my father. I hope that his legacy lives on in this community in some small way. Thank you.
Our next award recipient is a very dear friend of mine. Are there some people here that like Melissa? Melissa Ganzi is a visionary leader whose enduring commitment to developing polo has strengthened the sport at every level. Since beginning polo in 2000, she has advanced its growth through her stewardship of Grand Champions and Aspen Valley Polo Clubs and her steadfast support of junior, women's, international, and inclusive initiatives in the sport. A generous philanthropist, Melissa has championed the Polo Training Foundation, the Museum of Polo, Work to Ride, and numerous other charitable endeavors. As an accomplished competitor, she has succeeded at all goal levels, earning victories in multiple high-goal tournaments. Her leadership includes service on the USPA board and her continued work as president of the Polo Training Foundation and president of the Museum of Polo, promoting the sport's lasting advancement. For those of you that know Melissa, the thought of coming up here on stage and speaking is about down, keep going. It's not her favorite thing. So to convince her to come today and receive the award, she agreed to do a video, which I'm going to let us all pay attention to, and then Melissa will come up and accept the award.
Thank you to the Museum of Polo and Hall of Fame for this incredible honor. I feel so fortunate to share this evening with other distinguished individuals, namely Peter Brant and Joe Casey. When I purchased my farm in Ocala, Joe and Shirley took time out of their schedule to help me. We set up the farm, we negotiated hay and feed deals, and discuss fencing and other ideas. So it makes it really fun to share tonight with him. The first meaningful tournament I ever won was in a club that Peter Brant founded, the Saratoga Polo Club. When I won the tournament, it was owned by Bill Ilvasacker, and he was 77 and was playing in the tournament. And that was pretty impressive and inspirational to me. I always thought that I would use that as a mark that I wanted to play polo longer than Bill Ilvasacker did. When I started polo, I was fortunate enough to have opportunities given to me by Jack Oxley and Wink Hartman and Fred Manick Sr. And, these opportunities to play on their high goal teams or to participate in their club in Calgary, Canada, gave me exposure to high goal polo when I was new to the sport. And that aspirational piece of playing at the highest level with the best players in the world really was so meaningful to me and shaped who I became in the world of polo. So I want to thank them. Similarly, I want to thank my father-in-law, Wally Ganzi, for giving me my first polo pony and introducing me to the sport. Without him, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be where I am without my family, Mark, Brant, and Riley. And it's so wonderful that all of us can play the sport together and against each other, but more fun with each other. I feel really fortunate to have had them in this polo journey with me. One thing is for sure, without my staff, I wouldn't be where I am today. They help me do everything that I want to do. Every silly idea I have, every great idea I have, they make it come true, and they help me achieve all my dreams in polo. I feel fortunate to be a part of the history of the sport of polo through the Polo Museum, and also the future of the sport through the Polo Training Foundation. Giving back to polo has been important to me. It is a privilege to help preserve its history and support its future. Serving with the Polo Training Foundation and the Museum of Polo and Hall of Fame has been one of the most meaningful parts of my journey. Seeing young players discover the sport brings me a great sense of joy and confidence in what lies ahead. I accept this award with great appreciation and gratitude. It's been a privilege to be a part of the sport's past, present, and future.
Congratulations, Melissa. Our last group of awards tonight is the 2026 Hall of Fame. Any person shall be eligible for election to the Hall of Fame who has contributed to the game in an extraordinary and honorable manner, whether by dedication to the sport or by ability and record as a player. Our first inductee tonight is Elisabeth Pansy Ireland. Elisabeth Ireland Poe was a trailblazing pioneer who in 1925 unofficially became the first woman to obtain a handicap rating from the USPA. Standing only 5 feet tall, Pansy competed fearlessly on both grass and arena fields, consistently proving herself a formidable opponent to her male counterparts. Determined to play at the highest level, she boldly registered with the USPA under the initials P.E. Ireland and was granted a handicap. When officials later discovered she was a woman, she was ejected from the association. Whoa. Undeterred, Pansy continued to compete and went on to help pioneer the United States Women's Polo Association, shaping opportunities for future generations of female players. Here to accept the award is Pansy's grandniece, Nancy Ireland Stahl. Here we go. You can't tell from out there, but there's lights staring at me, and I actually can't see you. So when somebody stands up, I don't know where they're coming from.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad he explained everything about my Aunt Pansy and the fact that she played as a woman but stuck her hair up under her helmet so she could play with men as well. She was passionate about the sport of polo and loved every minute. She started when she was 14 years old, and she continued for 25 years and became I would say, a trailblazer for women in the sport. She established herself as a lead on many of the women's teams in the Cleveland, Kirkland area of Ohio. And she also, when she played on the men's team, she had key positions. They talked about her having one of the first women to have a handicap. But one of the things I really love was a quote that the Cleveland Plain dealer asked her. And they said to her, "Can you keep up with the men?" And she thought about it and said, "Yes, I can keep up with them, and sometimes a little ahead of them." She was active for 25 years playing polo, and then health issues stopped her from being able to do that. But before she stopped playing polo, she had a wonderful horse, and she rode at Madison Square Garden and was champion there with her Sunrise. She also was a breeder of thoroughbred horses and started that at the same time that she was showing and playing polo at her beloved Pebble Hill in Georgia, and then went on to buy Shawnee Farm in Harrisburg, Kentucky, where she bred horses that she raced in Ireland and England with great success. And this continues today with my cousin Watts Humphrey, and her pedigree and bloodlines continue, which I think is a real tribute to her as a horsewoman and as somebody who was so passionate about horses in general. In addition, she loved to fox hunt and had her own pack of Walker hounds down in Georgia. And she also was a great shot. Turkey hunting was one of her favorite things to do. In addition to that, she was a conservationist, preservationist, and believed so in traditions and things being taken care of and kept in good stead. So she was a catalyst in Thomasville, Georgia, in the community. And it just sort of leads me to talk a little bit about us coming here today. I came with my team from Pebble Hill who helped get her inducted, I would say, did all the paperwork and everything else. This is the second go-round, and we're so delighted that she's been accepted. But in looking at this wonderful museum and what you all are doing, she would be so happy because tradition and the sport and keeping the traditions of what has been before us going forward is so important. And we need to do this for the future, not only of this sport, but also of the showing of horses, of horse racing, and also of fox hunting, of which I'm a passionate advocate. I hope that you all, well, I want to just back up. We were so impressed coming to see the museum today, what has happened, what you all are trying to do here. And I really hope that with the expansion that's going to be happening, everybody in this room digs deep because we want to preserve. We dig deep at Pebble Hill, and we've started a all-women's polo event that's in its 4th year and is happening in March. And I just think that that's what keeps everything alive. So any of you women who play polo here who'd like to come up to Pebble Hill and play, we'd love to have you. We have a lot of fun. So I just want to say thank you so much. This is a great, great honor. I know she's up there smiling, and good night.
Thank you, Nancy. Our next living inductee is Billy Stevens. A towering figure in American arena polo, Billy Stevens sustained an exceptional 8-goal arena handicap for 13 years, a testament to his skill and competitive spirit. Over a remarkable 6-decade career, concluding with his retirement in 2004, he earned the admiration for his consistency, resilience, and exemplary sportsmanship. Stevens compiled an extraordinary record across 6-goal to 20-goal levels, highlighted by consecutive U.S. Open arena titles in 1980 and 1981, the 14-goal Continental Cup in 1975 and 76, the 20-goal North American Cup in 1976, and the National 12-goal Arena Championship in 1959. His enduring influence and distinguished achievements left a lasting legacy throughout the country and beyond for generations of players and fans alike everywhere. At the age of 96 years young, Billy could not be here tonight, but first he did send us a video, and to accept his award are his sons Charlie and Jimmy Stevens.
I wish I could be with you tonight, but I'm glad that my wife Ruth and sons Charlie and Jim can be. I was so lucky to get into the sport of polo, and I owe it all to my stepfather, Don McCarroll. I was just a kid growing up in Detroit, Michigan. I was playing ball in a vacant lot, and Mac taught me to ride and to play polo at the same time. I played with quite a few polo greats, such as Peter Perkins and Stuart Iglehart, and George Oliver, Lou Smith, Cecil Smith. I even know the man that brought Cecil Smith into the game. That was George Miller. He had the Miller Ranch in San Antonio. And he took Cecil and some other cowboys to the East Coast to play against Tommy Hitchcock and the Thoroughbreds in the East. And they did very well. The Chicago Armory opened up in 47, and Bill Schmidt asked me to come and play with he and Billy Mayer as a team. I couldn't wait to get there. And then I ended up playing at the Armory for the next 20 years. When I took over Joy Farm, it gave me the chance to own my own horses and to get Charlie and Jimmy into the game. Ruth would get on the horses every day, and soon I was playing them polo. The E-line field was close by, and it gave me the opportunity to play more outdoor polo. In closing, I ran into Red Armour and his dad many years ago, and Les asked me if I had heard George Oliver's talk to the Hall of Fame. And I said no. And he said, well, George stood up and he said, this reminds me of a time when I was in a plane flying over Germany about to bail out. And I said to myself, how did I ever get into this? And then he sat down and never said another word. I will be forever grateful to so many, and I enjoyed playing this sport for so many years. Thank you.
Charlie and Jimmy. What a great thing we could get a message from him. At 99 years old, I hope I'm still able to talk.
Hi, thank you, everybody. I'm Jimmy Stevens, Billy's son. My dad, would have loved to have been here tonight to share stories. He will be 99 in 2 months. He's doing great. If you ask him how he is, he'll say he doesn't feel a day over 95. So I just have a couple comments. He was a great mentor and a teacher. But everybody that played with him knew him as just, he had a great attitude. He was a real competitor, but he was very, very kind and generous. He led by example, and people learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from him because he didn't lecture, he didn't preach. People would play with him and say, Billy, what do you want me to do? And he'd say, well, don't foul and return the jersey. And that was the extent of what he wanted to say. I saw him play a lot in Oak Brook and in Milwaukee at Eland Field. And he played with the greats, Red Armour, Tommy Wayman, Joe Barry. But I saw him play a lot with Benny, guitarist. And I was told that one year Benny and Bobby Line were putting teams together, and they put two teams, Good Hope Farms and Milwaukee, together. And Benny and Bob were going through the players, and Benny looked at Bob and said, you know, I don't care how we do this, just give me Billy. And that's how people felt. He was a real team player. He taught Charlie and I just to be kind, be respectful. And he was always kind of respectful to horses, people, opponents, even referees. So you know he had a lot of patience. One thing I remember a lot from my dad was when you play polo a long time, people will tell you, nice game, you played well. That was a great game, nice goals. But I heard people come up to my dad all the time and say, boy, I loved watching you play. I really enjoyed watching you play. And I always thought, what a great compliment for a polo player to be told, people he looked up to, I loved watching you play. And I just want to say thank you, especially to Billy Robb and Gwen Rizzo for making this happen. He'd be very honored. He would love to be here to share stories with a lot of people. But thank you, and it's a great honor.
So I'm Charlie Stevens. My father, Billy, was an incredible role model for me. He's not able to be here due to his age and his not being comfortable with travel. My sister Christy staying with him. My dad was born when Lindbergh was still in Paris celebrating his solo flight across the Atlantic. He's 98 today. He started riding and playing polo at age 14. He played in the Chicago Armory during the 40s and 50s and 60s. He played in leagues, circuit and national tournaments, all-star games. There was many years where he won the high-scoring award, averaging more than 8 goals per game in 4-period indoor polo. He was rated 8 in the arena for a very long time, 3 outdoors for even longer. His stepfather, Mac, really supported him, and Mac took over Joy Farm in Milwaukee in 1950, and when Mac died in 1970, my dad moved us to Milwaukee, and we were playing polo at Joy Farm. Memorable for Joy Farm was the fact that we had a very small arena. We played 2 against 2. It wasn't heated, and in the winter, we thought about, but sometimes didn't cancel polo if it got down to 5 degrees indoors. I remember playing with a down vest. We played 2 against 2, and the idea was that when a new player was getting into the game, they would make mistakes, but the mistakes were more impactful. So they would learn soon teamwork, decision-making, and overall polo skills, And for that reason, Joy Farm won many, many Midwest tournaments. We played from Maui to Berlin. We played, I remember in Berlin, we met the Sifton family from Toronto. They invited us to play at the Toronto Polo Club, where we met the Siftons and the Offens and some wonderful players in Toronto. I remember in 1980, my dad was about to play in the U.S. Arena Open, and he broke a rib the week before in the 12 goal. And he still went and played in the Open. And during that first game, they won. During the second game, he had a lead, and he couldn't play anymore, so I went in for him. But with that lead, we were able to win the game, and Joy Farm won the U.S. Open, 1980. And in 1981, my brother Jimmy and I and my dad won the U.S. Open as a family. I can tell you that my dad played in more than 3,000 competitive polo games over the course of his career. We played some incredibly wonderful, fun games. And with regard to the induction into the Hall of Fame, my dad says it's an incredible honor, and my family is thrilled to be part of this. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Charlie and Jimmy. I believe we have one more award. And it's a person I think most of you have heard of before. Peter Brant established the powerhouse White Birch organization, setting a new standard of excellence in the American high goal polo for more than 35 years, beginning in 1979. His leadership and vision elevated the competitive landscape and encouraged other teams to develop and maintain fully professional operations that shaped the modern era. White Birch captured 31 tournaments rated at 26 goals or higher, including 12 USPA Gold Cup titles, 5 World Cup crowns, 7 International Opens, 5 C.V. Whitney Cups, and 5 Monty Waterbury victories. Their dominance culminated in winning the 2005 U.S. Open. As a player, Peter achieved a 7-goal handicap, ranked among the highest-rated amateurs in modern polo history. Please, all of us give a round of applause to Peter, who's here tonight to accept his award.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming here this evening. I was very conscious of how long my speech should be because I thought the music would go on, and I wanted to time it, but I guess I don't have to worry about that now. It's a real pleasure to be here this evening. I would try to talk louder. I'd like to thank the National Museum of Polo for bestowing on me this prestigious honor. I was so excited when Jenny Orthwine and Billy Rabb telephoned me to tell me that I would be invited to be inducted into the Polo Hall of Fame. I've been a polo player for 50 years. I've had the opportunity of playing with and against the world's best players. I have been a polo player for almost all that time, constantly watching the very, very best and trying to perform as good as I could. Polo is a team sport, and it takes other accomplished players to be in the Hall of Fame before me, as that proved to themselves their leadership paved the way for me. I also am so lucky to have a family and a wife and partner that never begrudged me for being so dedicated to this sport. My wife, Stephanie, who deeply love and adore, always greeted me with a smile when I came from playing polo because she knew how much I loved the sport. So many people helped me in polo along the way, and I would love to recognize those people here today. The great racehorse trainer, Alan Jerkins, who sold me my first polo pony called Congo, and who was a very good friend and convinced me that polo was a game that I should play, and this was in the mid-'70s. Tom Glenn, who organized me to play indoor polo at Ox Ridge Arena, Stamford, Connecticut, and would manage the Greenwich and Saratoga polo clubs until he was in his 90s. Leighton Jordan, my great friend over the last 50 years, who was instrumental in starting the Greenwich and Saratoga Polo Club. Tom Goodspeed, my first polo and riding teacher, he taught me how to play indoor polo, and he went on himself to be one of the greatest indoor players in the world. He was a tough taskmaster and told me that if I started at the age of 28 years old, that I'd have to go and ride every single day. I told him I couldn't do that. I was running a company and I had to work. And he said, well, you got to get up earlier and you got to go before work and ride every single day. So that's what I did. I then met Benny Gutierrez. A finer man never existed. He was a real gentleman. He taught me how to choose my horses and coached me, captained our team in the Northeast low and medium goal, and always told me that you have to pay your dues first before you can go out and play high goal polo. Otherwise, you'll have trouble. He also convinced me to play in South Florida. The great horseman Hector Barantes, one of the greatest horsemen who influenced me to send our good horses back to Argentina when they retired and breed from them. This program led us with supplying many of our best horses that we played. He also organized one of the best teams in the 1980s. Gonzalo Perez, a true cornerstone of the White Birch team. And thank you, Mr. Casey. I really appreciate you letting him go. He was really the center of our team and a great horseman. His mark on the game of polo is absolute. He encouraged me to visit Argentina and invest in Pilar to expand the polo operation there. Gonzalo brought in Mariano Aguirre, the next generation of our players. Mariano Aguirre played for the White Birch team and started when he was 16 years old and remained there until now. He became the next cornerstone of the White Birch team. Mariano is like a son and a brother to me. At the same time, he exemplifies the gentleman and family aspect of our sport. He and Gonzalo are poster examples of how one should play the sport. Then my old friend Carlos Gracita, the late Carlos Gracita, who taught me what it was like to be an example and play polo all over the world at the highest level. His brother Memo Gracita, his counsel was always very valuable to me. His knowledge of our sport is second to none. Neil Hirsch. Neil Hirsch, who partnered with me to open the Bridgehampton Polo Club on Long Island and bring back high goal polo to Long Island. And Laura DeLuca, who keeps Neil's memory bright and alive. Nick Manifold. White Birch Polo, White Birch Racing, whatever it is, he's the man. He gets everything done. Without Nick, there's no way I could be here today. Peter Orthwine, my good friend, a steadfast member of the Greenwich Polo Club, always was there for us, always put in a team, always loved playing and had a smile on his face. That's why we named Field 2 in Greenwich after him. And last but not least, all the horsemen and women who have worked for our team over so many years, from every morning to very late at night, exercising, transporting the horses, taking care of them in the greatest way, gauchos and grooms, making sure that our horses came to the field looking fantastic. Pablo, Dara, Ellie Breen, Naka Nikora, Carlos Diaz. I retired from polo 7 years ago. I realize now how relevant white birch has been in this sport, but I don't focus and think about all the great wins and the close losses. I think more often of the horses, and then the horses and the horses. That's what I remember best. Not just mine, but all my team members and all the horses I competed against that made such a difference in this game. They were the ones that provided the legs to carry us through these tough games. Danya Flor, Emposia, Petitiere, Roomba, Macarena, 50, Levy Koo, Rocket, Swenya, Phyllis, Mary Mary, Vasconcelos, so many of them. Some have been placed in the Hall of Fame. I'm so humbled being here before you tonight. Thought so much. I love polo and played this game most all of my adult life. Thank you all for being here and sharing this moment with me. I love this game.
Thank you, Peter. I have just a few closing remarks, honest, just a few. First off, thank everyone for coming, and I'd like everybody to give a round of applause to the servers and the cooks and everybody that brought the dinner for you from Ken Rose's operation. And then I have a little surprise for all of the women who are leaving tonight. the Lugano Company has given us a gift to give you, which you will receive as you go out through the door. I promise you, you want to pick up the bag. I promise you. Thank you all. I look forward to seeing you all in the museum and over the next year, and we look forward to seeing you next winter. Congratulations to all of the awardees.